Hey guys, Kursk here, and I'm Ukrainian Canadian. Today is February 9th, 2025. And let's get to the news and updates happening in Ukraine and Russia, shall we? So first I'll cover the story of North Korean troops back in action in Kursk. Then we'll talk about the latest developments yesterday when the Ukrainians successfully shut down an Su-25 jet fighter around the area of Toretsk. Then I will cover the story of a Ukrainian HIMARS attack that could have possibly destroyed an entire Russian command close to Selydove in the Pokrovsk direction. And last, I'll cover the story of some more Ukrainian innovation in the military field and why that is important. Now, let's talk first about North Korean troops back in action in Kursk. And the good news here is that it appears that their tactics have not changed whatsoever. So the Ukrainian 47th Brigade showcased a video of them repelling this assault yesterday. And this assault took place without any vehicles and again, with just purely infantry. So they attacked simultaneously from several directions with large infantry groups. It's not confirmed exactly where the North Koreans attacked in terms of the Kursk Oblast. I believe it is likely on the western side of Kursk, close to the border with Sumy, but it remains to be seen exactly where it happened. The 47th Brigade also mentions that about 200 to 250 North Korean soldiers took part of this assault, and the Ukrainians confirm that they were able to destroy them with artillery and drones, and also Bradley was used in this operation, this defensive operation. The Ukrainians, as you can see, use a lot of cluster munitions, as was showcased in the video, which are so effective at destroying infantry attacks. And you can see the aftermath. One of the North Korean soldier is severely injured following this assault. So great success. The Ukrainians were able to repel this massive North Korean assault. So this indicates that the North Koreans are back in action as well. And we will be seeing them over the next few weeks as well, back in action. Now, let's cover the story of the Ukrainians successfully shooting down a Russian Su-25 jet fighter around the area of Toretsk yesterday. Now it's more and more rare. The Russians are not flying as much close to the front lines. They're not taking as many risks, but it was very surprising that yesterday they took a massive risk flying these two Su-25s very close to the front line, thinking that likely the Ukrainians didn't have any man pads, but they did. And so this has been confirmed through a video that a Ukrainian successfully destroyed this Su-25 using the Igla. And afterwards, so this is something I didn't share with you guys yesterday, is that afterwards, after the downing of this plane, as you can see here, a pair of Russian helicopters, an Mi-8 and Mi-24, were sent to the site of the Russian pilot's ejection to evacuate him. However, the operators of the 28th Brigade's FPV drones prevented the evacuation by attacking the helicopter with FPV drones. However, they were unsuccessful, as you can see here. The Ukrainians were unsuccessful at downing the helicopter. And I believe that is the reason why is because the Russians likely installed powerful electronic warfare jammers on this helicopter. As you could see in the video footage shared by the Ukrainians, they lost the signal around 20 meters away. When they were about to hit the helicopter, they lost full control and the signal and image. So I believe that the Russians did install powerful jammers on their helicopters. So they're not that dumb. And so since the start of the full-scale invasion, according to Oryx, the Russians have lost around 35 to 36 Su-25s since the full-scale invasion started. So this is pretty significant. Unfortunately, the pilot is alive, which is the biggest asset for the Russian Air Force, of course. But good news overall, one less Su-25 to worry about. And also, the Russians will learn not to fly too close to the front line. Over the next few weeks, they will probably try not to do this again. Now let's cover the story of the Ukrainians doing a very big HIMARS strike on a Russian command post in Selydove. And it is possible that they wiped out the entire 35th Brigade, the headquarters of the Russian 35th Brigade in Selydove, which would explain first the slowdown of offensive operations in the Pokrovsk direction. And also yesterday, the Russians do mention that the Ukrainians launched a counteroffensive in the Pokrovsk direction, likely to be a small one. And it's a question mark whether it wiped out indeed the entire headquarters. But based on the Russian voinkors on Telegram saying that this happened, it's likely to be true. And on the map, I want to share with you guys the announcement by the Russians yesterday of the Ukrainians launching a small counteroffensive around the area of Pokrovsk. So the counteroffensive is claimed to be around the area of Kotline, Pishchane, and Uspenivka. So the Ukrainians launched a counteroffensive here, likely to push back the Russians and regain certain lost positions. And again, these are small counteroffensives. We're not expecting the Ukrainians to drive the Russians back all the way up to Selydove. That's not going to happen. But again, break the Russian momentum. It's all about breaking their momentum. And we see here that in Kotline, there is an important road that connects several other villages that the Ukrainians control and Pokrovsk. So it's really important that the Ukrainians push back the Russians here. And the Russian Telegram channels do mention that the Ukrainians were successful at repelling Russians and regaining certain lost positions, specifically around Kotline here. So we'll have to wait and see. But this does explain why the Russians were not able to respond appropriately here. They have stopped their offensive operations as well, the Russians, because they likely lost their entire command in Selydove, which the Ukrainians lost a few months ago during the continuous assaults by the Russians. So that's good news. Now, let's go back to the main story and the last one I want to cover, which is Ukrainians soon are going to be able to shoot down drones with lasers. And so this has been confirmed by the commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces, Vadim Sukharevsky, and he announced this during an interview. And so according to him, specialists developed the domestic laser system called Trezub, and it is currently undergoing appropriate tests to confirm its characteristics. According to the commander, there is a possibility that in the future, mobile air defense groups will be able to receive full-fledged laser systems instead of machine guns, which will significantly increase their effectiveness in the fight against drones. That's great news. He also added that the Trezub laser system is currently capable of shooting down aircraft at an altitude of over 2 kilometers, and likely in the future, it could even have better effectiveness and go even higher in altitude. And I believe that this is likely joint development between the UK and Ukraine. If you guys may remember or may not remember, last year the UK transferred the first samples of the Dragonfire laser weapons that the UK is developing to Ukraine. I believe it was in April of 2024. So I'm wondering if that is this kind of joint development between Ukraine and UK, and the Ukrainians were just developing on top of this and create their own domestic laser system. But overall, this is fantastic news because that's going to save a lot of money and ammunition for the Ukrainians if they successfully implement this Trezub domestic laser system. And let's face it, lasers are the future of warfare. And I'm also wondering, and if there's any experts here, you can chime in the comment section. I'm wondering if powerful lasers could also eventually be installed on these small Ukrainian drones. I imagine that obviously this is not a simple development, but this could be a game changer. Imagine if a Ukrainian drone could that has a laser installed on it could easily target a Russian ammunition dump, because we know that right now the Ukrainians are using small bombs or grenades which are very inaccurate. Or let's imagine a scenario where a Russian infantry group attacks the Ukrainian positions and the Ukrainians are flying drones with lasers and they can direct lasers at the Russians. That would be crazy. But I wouldn't be surprised if that would be the future of warfare, which is also very, very scary to think about. You definitely don't want to be an infantryman in this day and age, that's for sure. Probably the worst time to be one. So that's the news for today. This is excellent. And again, it showcases that the Ukrainians are really becoming one of the most militarily advanced, or the most advanced military in the world. And you're seeing just that determination, that innovation is very present in the Ukrainian society. And they're very determined to defend Ukraine at all costs. So, glory to Ukraine for that. And thank you to Ukrainian partners, including the UK, for having transferred these technologies to the Ukrainians as well. So with all that, guys, thank you so much for supporting my channel, for watching my videos. Let me know in the comment section your opinions, your thoughts about the news that I covered today. With all that, thank you, and Slava Ukraini.